If you're on the board of a nonprofit, you know your focus is always on the mission. But there's a critical and honestly often overlooked aspect of governance that protects that mission: fundraising compliance. So today, we're diving into the board's specific responsibilities in this crucial area.
This explainer is part of our multi-state fundraising compliance series, brought to you by Ironwood Registrations. We're here to break down these complex regulatory topics for nonprofit leaders, folks just like you.
So here's a quick look at what we'll cover. We'll start with the board's high-level oversight role. Then we'll drill down into solicitation laws and how to monitor risk. From there, we'll talk accountability and financial ethics. And finally, we'll tie it all back to what matters most: supporting your core mission. All right, let's kick things off with the board's fundamental role in oversight. And you know, this is a common blind spot, even for the most dedicated and experienced nonprofit leaders. And here's the crucial contrast we see all the time. Boards are and should be deeply involved in fundraising strategy, setting goals, shaping campaigns. But that same level of attention isn't always given to fundraising compliance, which is just as critical for protecting the organization's long-term health.
This brings us to the core question, right? What exactly is the board's role when it comes to fundraising compliance? It's about more than just knowing the rules. It's really about building a framework for success.
At its heart, board governance is all about ensuring the organization is on solid ground. This means operating within the law, following your own bylaws and governing documents, and of course, staying true to your charitable mission. And guess what? Fundraising touches every single one of these points. So, if a board's duty is to make sure the organization operates within the law, what specific laws are we talking about here? Well, that brings us to the regulatory framework that governs all fundraising: charitable solicitation laws. The key concept you need to know is charitable solicitation registration. Put simply, it's the legal requirement to register with state regulators before you start asking for donations in their state. A lot of states have these laws to protect their citizens and ensure everything's transparent.
And hey, this isn't a one-and-done task. For any organization fundraising across different states, it's a continuous cycle. You have your initial registrations, which are then followed by annual renewals, financial reporting, and just ongoing monitoring for any changes in the law or in your own activities.
Now, this is a really crucial point. Board members are not expected to be filling out these forms themselves. That's not their job. Their job is oversight. It's to ask the right questions and to make sure the executive team has the systems and the resources in place to manage this whole process effectively.
This leads us directly to the board's duty to monitor organizational risk. Because think about it, as your fundraising grows, so does your compliance complexity. A proactive approach here is absolutely essential. As a board, you should be periodically asking a few key questions. Where are we fundraising? And that means not just through the mail, but online too. Are all of our registrations in those states current? And who on our team is responsible for managing all of this? This kind of regular check-in prevents small issues from becoming major crises down the road.
That last question, who is responsible, is so critical it really deserves its own section. To ensure accountability, you absolutely must have crystal clear lines of responsibility for these regulatory tasks.
And that responsibility can live in a few different places, depending on your organization's size and structure. It might be with your finance staff or your operations team, handled by legal counsel, or even outsourced to external specialists who focus entirely on this area. There's no single right answer.
The key is that the board can't just assume someone is handling it. The board's role is to confirm that a clear owner has been established, someone who is definitively responsible for tracking those deadlines and managing all of these obligations. Okay, now let's zoom out a bit. Fundraising compliance isn't just about filing paperwork. It's deeply connected to financial oversight and the ethical practices that protect both your resources and the public's trust in you. Here's a perfect example of that connection. Boards already have a fiduciary duty to oversee finances, which includes reviewing the annual IRS Form 990. Well, that very same document is a required submission for registration in many states. They are really just two sides of the same transparency coin. Ultimately, this goes way beyond just following the rules. When a board actively oversees both fundraising practices and compliance requirements, it sends a powerful message to donors and the public. It says, we're transparent, we're responsible, and you can trust us. And that trust is the most valuable asset any nonprofit has. So let's bring this all together. It's easy to look at compliance as just a burden or another chore, but the correct way to frame it is as an essential function that protects and supports your organization's mission. If you take away just 3 things today, let them be these key board functions. First, maintain a high-level awareness of solicitation laws. Second, actively monitor the organization's fundraising risk. And third, and maybe most importantly, ensure there is clear accountability for who manages compliance. Because at the end of the day, responsible fundraising isn't just about avoiding penalties. It's about building a sustainable, trustworthy organization. It's a strong foundation that powers your purpose and allows you to serve your community for years and years to come.